Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I have a different craft for you. It's one that I saw off of a magazine that I usually get my clothes that I've done reviews and that you've seen me in. So I saw this necklace and I said I can do that. It won't look exactly like that, but it's okay because usually if you're coming up for ideas for jewelry making, you usually need some idea. You usually look for ideas, but you don't want to copy them exactly because you want to make them your own. So this is a necklace that I saw off of my Venus catalog. Now I don't know if you're getting a good view of this. It's kind of hard but it's three, looks like filigree or somewhat of a design. I don't know if you're getting that. And then with a tassel. And of course they're all on a chain. The chain's this way and connected. So there also looks to be a little bit of a chain, or you could do anything you want. Now I'm going to do my own version of that. So the items you're going to need to create this necklace is, of course, your jewelry working tools. You're going to need chain of the same color, and since these are in brass, I'm going to use my brass chain. So that's your findings. The other findings are brass jump rings. Here I have 4mm and 6mm. I'm not sure if I'm going to use the 4mm because to wrap into the little holes in there and to get around, probably the wider ones. But if I'm doing little connecting pieces, then I can use the tiny ones. See the difference? How tiny the 4mm compared to the 6. But it's always good to have different sizes of jump rings just in case. But you want to make sure that everything is the same color. If you're doing boho jewelry, sometimes you can mix and match because it's just about using mixed matched media. And so this is it, and what I'm going to do is I have to make the chain and then a connecting piece. So first you want to say, how long do I want this chain? Do I want it really long and to hang down, or do I want it shorter? So you can make it 16 inches, but that's going to be almost close to a choker. And I want this to hang lower because this is a long piece, but not too low. Because once you cut the chain, you're really not going to connect it back. So the best thing is to kind of look at it and then play around with it, because you're going to have connecting pieces. So I might not go that long because 16 inches might be good enough. But remember, once you cut it, it's, you could probably use a 4mm jump ring if you cut it and you need extra to connect more, but I don't really want to do that. Okay, now if you wanted this in a different color, I did show you that these filigree templates can be painted on many of my other jewelry tutorials. So if you want to look at my jewelry tutorial playlist, you can see many different tutorial videos using filigree templates, which it comes in a set, and I'll be putting the link for this set below this video in the description box, and anything else that I got. If I don't have a link, I'll put where I purchased them. But this set only comes in brass, but I have painted it, and I showed you where you can use regular small paints for like $1, or you can use this one paint that's really good for like about $7 or $8. That all I got from Hobby Lobby, or you can even use nail polish. So I prefer to use metallic-y types because this is a metal now, but it's up to you. And I've even added some glitter nail polish over my nail polish coloring. So you'd want to go check out that playlist and check out those other jewelry tutorials with my filigree jewelry, showing you what I did as far as painting. Okay, so we're going to get started, and I'm going to figure out how long this is. going to be, and because you're going to have a connector after you cut the chain, you're going to have to connect it. Also, what you're going to need, and I didn't show you, is some clasps. So I also got these clasps in brass. Usually when you're working on a project, you want to get everything the same color. So all your findings will be of the same color that you're working with. Now, what findings are, if you're not familiar with findings, they're the items that you use to make jewelry, such as chain, jump rings, clasps, and head pins, and all these other, and eye pins, and all these other kind of different items. So you get the general idea. Okay, so now I'm going to take all my items, put them aside so I have room to work, and I'll be right back once I decide what length I want this chain. But keep in mind that the chain is going to be long because you're going to have them stacked pretty much. You're going to have them stacked like this. And you're going to want to figure out your spacing because in the picture it showed like a little chain connecting them or some other item, and I'm going to figure that out because I don't want them too far spaced. I think that's good. And so if I have a 16-inch chain, I want it to hang low but not too low, but that's all your preference. And if you do a long chain and you find you want it shorter, it's always easier to cut the excess than it is to add the excess. Some other items I forgot to mention that you will need is something for the connector. Now I picked out these 3 beads, but I'm not sure I'll use them. But this is a head pin. Now you can use an eye pin, but I don't have one in this color because, again, this is a finding and I needed it in brass. So another item you will need is either some brass wire or some eye pins. Now I don't have eye pins, I have head pins. And head pins, if you're not familiar, they're considered a finding, and they have little heads just like a regular pin at the end. See? The regular head pin. But instead of using the complete head pin, what I do is I save the clippings from other head pins that I didn't need the excess. It's always good to save because you can use for another project. So now if you can find eye pins, and what eye pins look like are just like the head pins, except for at the end, instead of the head, they have like a loop, which is good. And then you'd have to make another loop yourself on the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this through, and then I'm going to cut the excess like so. And I'm going to do that on both sides, but for now I'm just going to show you. I'm going to take my round nose pliers, and once I've cut as much as I think I'm going to need, I'm going to make a loop big enough so it doesn't fall through the hole of the bead, but small enough that it doesn't make it look too ridiculous. So that's that. Now I'm going to kind of bend it backwards so that it looks better. Now, so you got an idea, that's what it looks like. And now I'm going to cut the excess and do the same thing on the other side. So now that I've done that, this is what it's going to look like, okay? And you could try to make those the same size, all right? Now I'm going to repeat that process with the other ones. Okay, to save some time, I had finished doing all 3 of these with cutting the little piece of wire from the head pin. Now what I wanted to show you is that I went ahead and connected it. Now I had cut this chain about a little more than 16 inches just in case. I'm not going to use the full length. I could have went longer, but this is going to hang pretty long. Now if I find that the chain was too short, I can simply get one of my smaller 4mm jump rings and attach the chain because it blends in with the brass chain, and all my findings are the same color as all the other items I'm working with. So that comes in handy. So if you run into that issue, that's what you can do. Hopefully I don't have to. Now, for this part, I want to hook this up like that. I'm going to use this as a pointer because as you see these little holes, that's where I'm going to put the jump ring. I might have to have two connecting so that it doesn't go to one side because only one of the jump rings. That's the only issue with this, but I'm going to try that and I'm going to be right back. Okay, so to show you what I did to hook these up, I took, and I'm gonna put this in my hand. So what I did was, because the holes are like that, I don't know if you're getting that look, it's a little blurry. So I took the jump ring and I put one in one hole and one in the other hole, and they're the 6mm. Then I took another 6mm and made a third one. So as you can see what that looks like. It's the best way to hang it because if you just put one, it might hang lopsided, and you want this to hang straight. Now I'm going to repeat that process with the other two. Okay, so now what I wanted to show you what I did before I go ahead and connect the other ones. So over here where I connected the two jump rings, instead of using the big jump ring for the third one like I did here, I used the 4mm. So I used two 6mm on either side, and then I attached the little 4mm to the loop on the bead that I made. And I'm going to, if you can see, and I did want to show you that you take your round nose pliers and you open the 6mm and then you put it through that hole. So I already did one. Now I'm going to put this through the hole and then I'm going to close it. So I am taking my chain nose and my round nose, or whatever's easier for you, and I wait till I hear the click. Like that. And you want to make sure that it's actually closed. But see, so now I have two, and then they're going to hang like so. And then I'm going to use a 4mm between the two of them and hook it right to the bead. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And so it's like that. Then I'm going to take these and I'm going to go ahead and put it through the two 6mm. And once I got that through, I'm going to go ahead and close it. And it's kind of hard. You've got a lot going on. Hung these with the right side, not the back. Otherwise you have to unhook everything and redo it. So there it is, it's hooked to the chain. Now I'm going to repeat the same process for the next and last one. And then I'm going to go ahead and hook up my clasp to the chain. But we're not going to be done after that. We still need another item that I didn't show you, which is I'm going to fancy these up. Now, in the picture that I showed you, and I'm going to get it again. In this picture, I don't know how clear it is. I'm having an issue with it focusing. You can see there's no embellishments on it. It just looks like 3 filigree pendants with no anything. Now, you can glue a gemstone to each one, or a bead. And I'm sorry that's not coming out. I'm struggling to focus with that for some strange reason. But I have a jar full of different colored, different sizes, round acrylic gemstones. And the back of them looks metally, and it depends on what color you want. And I'm gonna get some of my E6000 jewelry glue and a toothpick to apply it. And if you have a hard time handling the gemstones with your fingers, you could also use a tweezer if you want. I do have one if I need it, but other than that, I probably won't. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this, and then I'll come back and we'll go to the other steps. Okay, so I realize now that I've attached all this that the chain wasn't as long as I wanted it, but I cut it a little over 16 inches. So what I'm going to do, and it's an easy fix, and as you can see, the 4mm jump rings will fit nicely into the chain and blend in, and you'll never know. So I'm going to cut more chain to make it a little longer. And I'm going to get 2 4mm chains to hook. I need about 13 inches. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to take my cutters and cut myself some chain. And remember now, if it's still too long, then I can at least cut it. If it's still too short, I'm going to have to add more. But I'm pretty sure I'll be good. So now I'm going to take the two ends, and I'm going to take my 4mm jump ring, and I'm going to attach it. To the other end. So I put that in there, and now I'm taking the other side of the chain, and now I'm going to close it with my round nose and chain nose pliers. And I heard the click, and I made sure it was shut. So now look, can you tell where that is? It blends in seamlessly. So if you have a silver chain, make sure it's a silver jump ring, but all depending on the size. This is great with 4mm, but if they were bigger loops to these chain links, then it would have had to been the 6mm or bigger. But this works, so now you know if you run into that problem, it's an easy fix. All right. So now I'm going to attach the other side. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done that. Now I'm going to go take it to a mirror and see if I like the length. Okay, so I took it to the mirror and I kind of like it like this. Now keep in mind, you will have to attach a clasp, a jump ring. So I left it at about 14 inches long. So now I'm going to go ahead and add my jump ring and clasp to the ends. I'm going to attach it to the chain with a 4mm, and then on the other side I'm going to put the 6mm. Lever that you open it with will be upside down, so you're going to want to be sure that you put it that right side up. Otherwise you're just going to have to redo everything. So now I'm going to make sure that this closes, because it does have to go around a big chunky part of that loop, and if it isn't, then I'm going to have to get another jump ring. But that works out. So see, I've connected that. Now for the other side, I'm just going to go ahead and connect my 6mm jump ring. Put it right through. And there you go. And this chain is long enough that you could even put this straight over your head without having to undo the clasp. But it's always nice to have that option because some people don't like to put it over their head. So our next step is going to be to attach something to the bottom. Now in the other one it had a tassel, and I did have a gold tassel or a brassy kind of tassel. Unfortunately, I don't know what I did with it. It was a single one and it's somewhere. I do have this copper tassel and it wouldn't look bad, but I really don't want to do that. Now you can do a number of things. You can attach that or some dangling beads, or you can make a tassel out of a big bead and little beads. And these are the wrong colors, but I'm just showing you what it would look like. So keep in mind this is going to be long, and that is why I didn't want to attach a long chain to it, but you know, it doesn't look good if it's too short. Okay, so now I've decided what I want to hang. Like I said, the original one that I'm trying to make a version of has a tassel. And the color tassel I wanted was a yellowy gold, but I cannot find it. Now, I showed you different versions that you can make. You can make it with seed beads and head pins and then a big bead at the top. If you wanted to make tassels that way, you can use a big bead and some chain hanging as well. For instance, I was going to do this with the chain, it's going to have beads like that, and use my head pin and then maybe one there, or I can get little pieces of chain and then attach jump ring and kind of make a tassel that way. But I don't want to make a tassel with this one. I think I'm just going to leave the bead. If later on I do find that particular tassel or I want to do hanging chain, I can always change it. That's the good thing. But it's always good to have different ways. So if you're going to make these to sell, you have an option to do it many different ways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the head pin and these beads and some jump rings. And then after that, the last step will be going through these acrylic beads and picking out the colors that I want, and then we're going to glue them to the center. Now I'm saving this part for last because we have to glue it. You want them to dry, and we're going to still be handling the necklace, and you don't want to handle it when you just glued something, because then you'll just keep knocking it off and make a mess. So that's why this is going to be the very last step. So let's go ahead and decide what I want to do. So I'm going to see if this is long enough. Now this is just a head pin like I showed you. It has the little head at the end. And I'm going to put, these beads are from a kit that I got. They come red, gold, brass, and I got this kit from Hobby Lobby. If I can find the link, I'll put it there, or the name. And they're usually about $7 or $8, but sometimes they're on sale. They're usually on sale a lot of times. So now I'm going to put that bead first, then this bead. Now if I was going to make a tassel with adding chains, then I wouldn't add this bead. I would simply make a loop at the end and then hang things. And in that case I would use an eye pin because it already has a loop at the end instead of a head, like the head pin. So now I'm going to put another brass one at the other end, like that, and then this gold one. Okay, so it's going to look like that. And now I'm going to cut the excess and make a loop so that I can connect it to the end. But I also have to attach some jump rings. So first let me cut this and make a loop so my beads don't fall off. And I don't want a huge loop, but I don't want too small. So I think that's good enough to leave some room to curl it. Okay, Now I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to go ahead and make that loop at the end. And I want to make sure that loop is totally closed. And then I'm going to kind of bend it back to straighten it out and then close it again and make sure it's nice and sealed. I'll probably take my chain nose for that so that I can give it a good squeeze, but not too much because I don't want to close that hole. Okay, so there it is. Now I'm going to get my jump rings. Okay, so I went ahead and attached that bottom piece. And we have our clasp and jump ring at the very end of this. So we finally are at the end. Now this doesn't take very long. It may seem so, only because I had to make a lot of stops. So you're really going to enjoy this. So this craft is really pretty fast. It's not going to take you long to do at all. All right, so the next step is going to be getting my gemstones out. All right, so I'm going to choose the gemstones I want. There's different sizes and different colors. So because I'm going with the gold theme, now like I said, you can handle these with a tweezer. I think that's what I'm going to go for. Now there's different colors and sizes. See, this is a smaller one, but I don't want the small one. I want the medium one. And I have to look for one more. And you can get these sets at either Michael's or Hobby Lobby or online. They're just different acrylic gemstones. Now to shine these up a little after handling them, just get a Q-tip and some rubbing alcohol. Okay, not witch hazel, but rubbing alcohol. And you just gently go over that with your Q-tip, and don't drench it. Blot your Q-tip before you put it on there because it'll drip into the glue. But I wouldn't do that till it's totally dry. And so we're going to fix it right there. Now if you wanted to add more all around it and get a little ornate, that's fine. But really the filigree is pretty enough that it gives it enough design. You don't want to complicate it. But if you don't want to put one of these, you don't have to. You can simply leave this plain, like the version I showed you from Venus catalog. Now you see, this is what I used, and on the back it's like a flat silver. You can use beads, but it should be a bead that has a flat end. But, you know, use what you've got, but these are perfect. I love these. And they also have ones with different shapes and sizes as well. E6000 clear jewelry glue. And I'm going to open this. And you have to be careful because it tends to ooze out. And so what I do with this glue is I put it in a cup to hold it upright. And then I lean it against something, my tripod. So now you're going to take your toothpick. You hear the birds? That's a blue jay because I have bird feeder out there. And now we're going to take this. Now you can either get tweezers to hold these or your fingers, whatever works. Just put a dab. If you put too much, it's going to, the problem with that is it's going to ooze. Now place it. This is the tricky part. That's why I say you might want to use tweezers. Okay, once you've got the center, make sure it's placed exactly where you're going to want it, and then hold it down. 1, 2, 3, you know, kind of push it. Then look at it. Make sure it's exactly centered. This one's a little off. You have some time to play with this glue. Why I prefer the E6000 glue instead of using a glue gun. Number one, glue guns tend to dry hard and globby, and it raises the gemstone, and it oozes out of the back, and then it turns yellowish, and it also dries, and then what happens is whatever you attached it with falls out. Now if you're going to make them to sell or give as a gift, you really don't want that to happen. That's embarrassing and it's not good for you. So and it doesn't make you look good. So the best bet, I would always go with E6000 jewelry glue, okay? So now that you've made sure this is totally centered and where you want it, we're gonna go on to the next two. Again, you only need a very small amount, and it doesn't really ooze out too much in the back, and then you can just wipe it with a paper towel with a little rubbing alcohol, either a Q-tip or whatever, to get the excess glue off the back. And when you're done with this and they're drying, you're going to want to put this somewhere where it dries, because E6000 glue typically takes 24 hours to fully cure and dry, although about 20 to 30 minutes, and it pretty much isn't going anywhere. But like I said, what I like about this glue is it gives you some time to play with it. So like right now, when you're centering it and trying to find the perfect spot, that's what I like about it. It gives you a little room where if you use the glue gun, you stick it there and that's it. You can't really play around with it. Then you got to pick it off and all the strings of the glue gun and, you know, from the glue sticks, the strings. All right, so I'm liking this. So now I just have to put my last one on, and then I'm gonna let this dry, and then stick around because I'm gonna show you what that looks like on. So now when you're sure that all of this is straight and they're all in a row, give it a good look, because once it dries, now you're gonna have to, you can go like this, and if you have excess glue, like I do here, that's why I say use very little. And I just want to make sure these all position just perfectly. I like it, and I'm happy with the end result. And now I'm going to show you what it looks like on. So as you can see, I took a picture with it on the hanger. I live in the South and it's way too hot for me right now, the long sleeve shirt on, but it looks best. This is a boho shirt and this is a boho necklace, bohemian. So now these might twist and turn, and you can always remedy that by tying a little piece of wire between the two jump rings if you find that that's an issue for you. But that's how it looks. Now this shirt isn't too heavy, and when it gets a little bit chillier out, which it's starting to get cool, I have the windows open today, but it was 90 the other day in the South. It gets hot. So here is what it would look like if you had a long sleeve shirt. I tried it, but I have a tank top on, and it just didn't work right. This is really nice with a nice boho shirt. As you can tell, I have this boho shirt with the nice peasant sleeves, with the nice bell sleeves, and that's what it would look like. And you can even wear a little choker and then this, and it doesn't matter what color the shirt is. Even if you have a turtleneck, it'll look good. So there it is. That's what it would look like on you. And like I said, you don't have to use this gemstone. You can put the red ones and then have like a red tassel or red beads, or you could even paint these with the paints, any color, silver, black, red, with any kind of paint, metallic-y paint, the little paints that you find at Hobby Lobby, or even nail polish. And you can even make it glittery by putting some glitter nail polish over the paint to give it that sparkle. So here it is. I wanted to go as close as to the one I saw. I already had all these pieces, so it didn't cost me a dime. But there it is, and that's what it would look like. I love it, and I love it. So you go ahead and make one for yourself, and please let me know in the comments section how it turned out. Thanks for watching. See you in my videos. Bye.